Your speech resonated with me as I read your bio more closely in preparation for this meeting. We share the same birth year, and I remember watching the same Grammy TV growing up in Belgium, seeing the Berlin Wall coming down, and it does feel like we're far away from that world sometimes right now. We only have half an hour, and I know you have many meetings here, and a hard stop at 11:30. But I wanted to ask you one question, and that's, thinking back of the first Trump administration, the European Union often had a hard time being heard, unlike the countries of Europe, whether it was France or Germany or at the time still the UK. Right now, it seems again to be the case that the EU is struggling to get a hearing with the Trump administration. And you mentioned your meetings with American businesses and European businesses. So can you talk a little bit what the European Union strategy is right now to make sure that you can avoid being divided against one another and speak with one voice, and what the EU strategy is to kind of convince this administration that doing direct business with the EU as an entity is in its own interest?
I think it's regaining our self-confidence. In 2016, there was credibility to the argument that for many years, Europe was waiting for someone else to solve its problems. That if things really went wrong, the United States would come. That was the belief. Why? It had been decades of prosperity, enlargement. Those countries that were behind the Iron Curtain progressing massively in terms of freedoms, in terms of growth, in terms of visibility. But in 2022, that changed. And it changed, I would say, to the point where Europe had to wake up and say, this is not going to be okay. We are not well prepared. We have some countries that are almost 100% reliant on Russian gas. We have not adopted packages of sanctions in decades. Our economies are not strong enough. And most importantly, our voters are losing their faith in us. So last year in 2024, and that's why I made a reference to the election, because that was a real concern for us, is that our young people, our older generations were not believing that our political parties that were running elections, have been in power for a very long time, could guarantee the basics. Have a job, have a house, and have your children walk safely in the street. And I mention all this because when we talk to our American counterparts, there is full agreement. What were the discussions in the campaign? What did voters want? I can speak for my voters and what they want. And what they definitely do not want is to have a conflict with the United States. So that's why I'm here. I'm not worried. I mean, I'm not going to say it's ideal, but I want to believe that that self-confidence that we can have in stating how much on the table does our trade relationship mean. We are the largest trade partners. We are, I said boring, what I could have said also is reliable. You meet American companies who invest heavily in Europe and they say that's a market that can grow because there is a huge potential. You meet European companies that are operating here and say, give us the possibility to grow. Export. Protect consumers, yes. Don't regulate too much. Don't drown us with your laws. Everything, all of this is said. And I think if we manage across the table to say this is what we stand for, yes, things could improve. Yes, things could have been done better. But we are certainly not going to look away and think that alliances like this can be replaced. You know, there are more people in the world that cannot choose their leaders than there are people who can. We are, democratic allies. We have elections, we vote, we have administrations that come and go. But the values are the same. We can also discuss I think that's why I wanted to mention the concept of freedom of speech, like how we actually consider that to be a cornerstone of everything we stand for. But I also think that perhaps we don't explain it enough, or that we just think it's going to go away. So I would say confidence, clarity, truth, and admittance that, some things could be done better.
That's a very good answer. I'm going to open it up. I want